This will be a quick video of some of the process I've gone through reacquainting myself with pottery. So I'm not going to show anything spectacular. I am a very not spectacular potter at this point. But I'd like to create this video to sort of journal progress for my own reference. If that doesn't sound interesting to you, that's entirely understandable. So these are the first couple I made. I've done a bit of pottery before, but it's been years since I've done it. This is the first shot with some really too wet clay. It was very wobbly and weird. Haven't trimmed the bottom or anything. I just wanted to get something out. This is my first shot at making a bigger, flatter base with a sort of angle flare. I don't know the proper terminology, but you can see that the wall thickness is really inconsistent, and I scratched it quite badly when I was trying to trim it. But the thing I do like about this one is the bottom. So I trimmed about, I don't know, 2 millimeters down out to this little rim, and I left that, trimmed that down a little bit. But I quite like that little rim that stands out around there. I think that looks cool. I'm not much of a fan of the rest of it, it's much too heavy. So after that, I made some more little cups, more fiddling around with trimming. This one had a big blob, a big inconsistency, and I tried to trim the inconsistency off and smooth it off the top, but it didn't really work, and it was a bit of a mess. But I thought, no, I'll just keep it and use it for some trimming practice on the bottom. I might not even bother firing this. I might just chuck this back in the bucket and turn it back into more clay. I love that about pottery. I don't exactly remember the order of these ones, but here's another little cup. I was trying to draw this one up a bit taller, but it started to get a bit wibbly wobbly because it's only, I don't know, what, 3 or 4 millimeters thick, and it was getting quite wet at this point. The one immediately after this just turned to gloop and sort of flopped off the bed when I tried to take it off the plate because the bottom was too thin. It's hard to measure the bottom. I could get the calipers out, but I'd say it's about 5 millimeters. But the one that sort of fell apart was only about 3. So this was a good lesson in making the base a bit thicker. This is a bigger bowl. It's my first attempt at it. I think this is like I'd estimate about 300 grams or so of clay. This one I spent a fair bit of time trimming the outside, and then had trouble getting it off the bed and touched it with some wet hands. I tried gluing it down with some slip to the bed so I could trim the inside a little bit. That just made a massive mess. I'm not entirely sure how to use slip to glue things down without ruining things. But there's some big gouges there from where chunks of grog or grit or whatever in the mix tore out the surface. But the wall thickness is pretty consistent. The rim is quite a bit thicker than the wall, like 2 millimeters thick. I'd say on average it's probably about 3 to 5 mil thick the whole way. It feels nice and light. I don't mind this. The bottom, I have a hard time reproducing how nice this one feels. I don't know what factors it might be, like how wet the clay is when I'm trying to finish it off, when I'm trying to carve it. Still working on that, but yeah, this is sort of, I was trying to chase the dragon of this bottom because I really like how that looks. Made another rose clay cup, not much to talk about in this one. Really inconsistent wall thickness. I'm not a huge fan, but I'll fire it and see what happens. Had a bit of a chunk in the surface here, the top. A little inconsistency in the clay. Whatever, I'll fire it and see what happens. So the two I've done just today, I wanted to make, this is still wet so I can't pick it up, straight wall cup, and I tried using a scraper to clear the slip off the sides through lifting it off the base. And so I'm reasonably happy with how that turned out. The surface is a bit nicer. I haven't trimmed this one obviously, but I've got high hopes. It's not really a good size for anything, but I might put a handle on it and, I don't know, see how it goes. Could be interesting. And then I wanted to try a slightly bigger bowl. So I did straight walls. The inside texture is a bit scratchy. I got to trim my thumbnails or my fingernails because when I was drawing up the sides, it got a bit scratched up on the inside. I don't think it's a big problem. But I'm reasonably happy with how this one turned out. It's a nice consistent wall thickness. The top curves over nicely. Yeah, I think it's relatively flat, so when I trim the bottom it won't be wobbling all over the place. But yeah, I'm reasonably happy with that one. And yeah, so yeah, That's where I'm up to. Okay. Bye-bye.